see here. Thank you for joining us. Liz and Dr. Drummer are both here. I see a number ending in 518. Last two digits are 76. Oswaldo is here to help us with the technology, and there is not a lot to report. On Sunday or Saturday afternoon, they reopened, or they opened the shuttered venue app so that you could begin to, they had to take it down. I guess they got overwhelmed initially by the number of people who were applying. The governor did put out this week movie theater capacity, museums, aquariums, zoos, botanical garden capacities, then large-scale arena and event capacities increasing to 25%. They also announced $2.8 million available for municipal charging stations. Now, I don't know if those funds would be applicable to school districts or colleges, but I will send you that information. And then, for having them at Basilica, perhaps, through the city of Hudson, you could apply for those. So I'll send those to you as well, Liz.
Oh, great. Thanks.
And anyone else who's listening that I can't see or identify, this will all go out in the Columbia Comeback newsletter at the end of the week. I think the big issue is people not wanting to get vaccinations. And on the call that we had, that the 8 counties had with the governor's office on Friday, there were 2 counties that said, what can we do with these? One of the interesting things that suggested was, could they get them to the K through 12 school system in the hopes that then the parents could come and get them at the same time. But again, I remember the largest audience that I have seen at a Columbia County Board of Supervisors meeting in my 5-year tenure here was people who were upset about camp vaccination mandates. So, I think it become, and we have 2 employees who have no intention on getting the vaccine out of 6. So, I think that everyone is concerned about that. The financial programs for restaurants is opening up. It's going to apply when based on size and capacity. Apparently, not-for-profit organizations that have restaurants or snack bars at a movie theater or a venue are not eligible. For-profit restaurant entities are. That's caused a problem for some organizations. I think some of it relates to the types of organizations that are not-for-profit or private clubs, and where membership is restricted other than by capacity. And I think, to see the Union League Club in New York City to get $2 million of restaurant relief, not that they aren't suffering and their employees are victimized as much, but I think, some of the technicalities in the legislation is designed to ensure that there's no perception issues as well. There's been a number of articles. I don't know if you've seen them, Liz. I can send them to you throughout the region. There was one about Glens Falls or Lake George wedding venues seeing a big uptick in the Capital District Business Review. I think, again, we're getting ready for our annual meeting tomorrow, and Dr. Drummer is our keynote speaker. And we're kind of looking ahead. We've done what we've done. And I had a call today from the Times Union is doing a new featured page, and I'm not sure if it's going to be every day or on a particular day of the week on the Hudson Valley, the Greater Hudson Valley, and they wanted to look. They were late to the game, and they were looking for a new angle on the fact that we've are on the top of one of the lists of migrated second home residents or people changing their mailing address. I think you probably saw that. I had sent the New York Times article to the Register Star, and they did an article on it on Friday. Based on that particular list, out of 940 metro areas, Hudson/Columbia County was number one, next with Kingston second. And they were looking again to see what kind of an angle they could take on it. And I focused them on sales tax. Sales tax is up 13.7% for the first quarter over last year. And it was up 3% over 2019 at the end of 2020. I also cautioned them that some of the people who, if they were using people who had had their mail reassigned, it could be some of the 4,000 second homeowners who were already here and decided to stay. And it's not like they bought a new house here. They're just using what property they have more extensively. But it certainly demonstrates that when you look at the fact that 80% of our businesses have under 10 employees, if they're in the service sector, and many of them are, having a 10% surge in population, even if it was transient or temporary or seasonal, is a big impact to what we do. And I know on the flip side, there have been countless articles in the last 2 weeks as people start to ramp up about the inability to find help or employees. And
I have two things on that, Mike. It's interesting. So our first wedding, I think I might have told you on another call, we usually open our wedding season in April, but with restrictions and stuff, most of our Aprils and Mays either moved further in this year or to next year. So our first actual wedding is on June 12th. And then we have a couple each month, but September, October, we have tons. I mean, those are 2 packed months. So it'll be interesting to see because, as you know, with any kind of events industry or wedding industry, it's bringing people to the area. If it's a full weekend, they're staying in our Airbnbs and our hotels, they're eating at our restaurants, they're shopping in our stores. So it'll be interesting to see, once things ramp up even more, even with the summertime, with just people coming up to the area. I mean, I think, I'm over in Catskill and just seeing, there's always been obviously it's like apples and oranges, huge foot traffic difference, between Hudson and Catskill, but just, seeing the amount of outer town people in Hudson, that are coming up on the weekends to visit, it's interesting. So I think when things, like you were saying, ramp back up again, especially with weddings and stuff, it'll be interesting to see, like you were talking about with the tax revenue and stuff. But on the flip side of that, with the weddings opening up, a lot of my wedding planners are having trouble getting staff. Some of their staff has come back. Some are coming back, but like you said, they, half are vaccinated, half don't have no intention of getting vaccinated. Right now, the state requires that they have to get COVID tests or have proof of vaccination. So that's going on industry wide. But it's an interesting thing about sort of, bringing now that we're ready to go, bringing people back again is definitely a huge challenge, not only with wedding industry, but with restaurants. I mean, I know a bunch of restaurants over try and get staff ready for when summer hits.
I know we spoke with one of the owners of 225 Warren, and they're looking for line cooks. Can't find any.
Yep.
And I do think though that our unemployment, we're third lowest in the state at 5.3%. We had been the lowest in the state for 26 months running. We're now behind Tompkins County, where Ithaca is, and Saratoga County. But what that means is there's still 500 to 750, maybe 1,000 people who are on the unemployment books. You can come off unemployment, not have a job, and not be counted anymore. although that's more unlikely now. That may be why there's more people on unemployment, because they've extended the number of months you're eligible to participate. I think, people are looking out. It'll be September 1st, I believe, when the supplemental premium on unemployment is dropped, so you don't get the extra $300. It had been $600. There was some information that, but I do think that, when you look at the fact that 80% of our businesses are under 10 employees, those folks are not, if they're uncertain as to where they're going, they're not adding people or bringing people back. They're just absorbing the staff they have and either not doing things they would otherwise have done or making people work harder, so that if this flashes back, they're not in a position. Banks are seeing on an individual basis highest cash balances that they've seen. Part of that is they're not sure if people are waiting to pay their taxes a month late, but they also think people are saving money in the case of another flashback. So I think that that caution worries me in terms of, if you're not going to get your job back because the company made changes in their operation or are uncertain, how do we retrain people? Because I have to believe when you looked at it previously, the two ends of the spectrum where people were laid off the most for COVID was middle management educators and professors, or professionals. The legals, paralegal, the healthcare worker in a doctor's office. The people at the highest end have more than 3 months in savings to carry themselves, but it was the people in the professional service professionals in the $50,000 to $90,000 range, and people who don't get, they're only getting the $504 a week in unemployment, and their salaries were more, or the people at the very low end who just can't survive on the $200 or $300 a month adjusted weekly unemployment, even with the $600 or $300 supplement. So, how do we focus on retraining people? And I know I was at the PAC today for the videotaping for Chris and Danielle at the Columbia Green Workforce New York Career Center. I'm not the best at those things, but and so, Dr. Drummer, in terms of your thoughts on this, I don't know how quickly we can respond or how willing people are in that situation to explore.
Well, what I'm reading, and there's to some degree experiencing this at the college as well, although it's different because people reading is people now don't want to work on site. They want to work remotely. And I published by Korn Ferry that's indicated that people in the job search, 33% of the people who are searching for jobs were willing to take less money as long as they didn't have to go into an office building. That is huge.
Now, do you think that's just they've learned that their lifestyle can accommodate that, as opposed to we're afraid to go in and get exposed?
I think it's a mix of both, right? Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, and I have some employees at the college who don't want to be back on campus.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an issue for us because every campus as of May 17th.
Well, and it's also going to be an issue in terms of the recovery of our urban centers and the office supply, because we saw even in Hudson what it was like having empty second and third floors on Warren Street for years when the building stock didn't keep up with being safe and sound for people to even have apartments.
Yeah. So it's really going to change the workplace dramatically, I think, and I'm not sure where it's going to land, but I think certainly it bodes well for the gig economy with people just
Yeah.
going from one job to another without committing to a specific employer, which is just so different than my generation.
Well, and then how do you get those gig workers health insurance, and how do you get them where they have we had advertised for a marketing assistant, and I spoke with someone yesterday, and they said, well, if I live in Clifton Park, I'm happy to do this remotely. I do it now for another company remotely, and it's a part-time position, and the people who were willing to come work weren't really, they were either well overqualified or they were I shouldn't say this because we're on a recorded call, but some of the social media was over the top. Right, Lisa? I better be quiet here. Anyway, so I think what I'm looking at is this isn't going to be this is going to be a transition that not only do we have to help support businesses in that evolution, but we have to be a little further forward outlook on how we can put some resources in place that guessing what people will need and then being able to make mid-course corrections to help them, because I think that we're all just taking a breather, but we've got to redouble our efforts to figure out how these shifts are going to impact the broader universe. And there's no real one answer either. Well, I worked at a hotel in high school and college and law school, and occasionally I had to do wait staff work. So if you get really stuck, it'd be fun to go to a wedding that I didn't pay for.
Nice.
Having 3 daughters who.
Oh, right. Yeah, you've really had it. Yeah.
But I mean, these are helpful in helping me. I know the participation is down, but I think that's because people are focused on their own issues. But how we look out and figure out. I don't like the word nimble because it's used too much, but I like mid-course correct. Life is a series of mid.
It was interesting. I did the webinar for that Excelsior Pass program this past week, and that was interesting because it really is a little bit of a game changer when it comes to, I've got Basilica Industries, which is like the rentals, and then there's Basilica Arts, which is our nonprofit that does, in better times, music and arts events where they would have people, showing up. But even for the weddings, wedding planners right now, you can have a wedding of 100 people or under without having to do the COVID testing and the proof of vaccination, but 101 people to 150, you have to do that. So this is actually great. You can load, like all of us, if we've got vaccinated, can load our, we can go to the Excelsior Pass and load our information onto and keep it in our phone if we want. So say we went to a wedding or we went to a socially distanced, music event or something like that, we can actually show up, and you can have it as a piece of paper too, but it's like this little barcode scan that they just scan you in and say, oh, it actually is I was impressed with their presentation because it is quite simple to very user friendly, it seems, to use. So that's, again, talk about way for the future. I guess this is something we'll probably have to have for a little while, just to, clock people in for having, getting a negative COVID test and then, having the proof of vaccine. But I thought the program they ran was excellent, and anybody who hasn't seen it or it would benefit their job should definitely go online, and check it out, because I thought they were smart in instituting it.
I think the other issue they're going to have, I signed up for the pass, but and I had to do it again because they had only done it. You only got a 3-month window the first time.
Oh.
But there are a lot of people I've talked to and read about who find that unacceptable due to privacy.
Well, they went over that and they said that the information that's shared. So, for instance, is me as like say the Basilica. So, if I have a wedding planner who's running a wedding at my event, they're not see. That's the great part of it because it's only the code. So it's just acknowledging that yes, the information is good. The wedding planner herself or myself does not see anybody's private information. It's
Right.
very like they did. That was the main. That was like the number one thing they discussed on the webinar was that people have and some people won't do it because of that.
No.
It's just like some people won't get vaccinated because they don't trust it. But they showed what is exactly what is stored and what is shared, and it's I will see nothing private about anybody's life. It'll just be like, yes, I have a negative test, clocks it in, yes, I've gotten the vaccine, I'm 2 weeks out from a vaccination. So
It's certainly a good tool if you can get people to utilize it, and particularly for a wedding. If the wedding website encourages you to make it a simpler process for the participant.
yeah. So some people will probably just bring the card or show it a different way, but it was interesting, and
I know
hoping it helps to streamline some things.
I know we've been working with the Workforce New York Career Center on their virtual job fair, and in the past, what we had done is when it was at the college, we paid for the pipe and drapes because Maureen Boughton's office didn't have the ability to get that approved. So we gave them the same amount in the hopes that, but I do think, how do we get people thinking about getting back into the workforce? They're thinking now of doing that in early to mid August because they feel that it won't be till then that people will be wanting to give up, when the benefits expire, that they'll have to get back. But, they had an extensive article about restaurants in the TU over the weekend in Albany that showed, how many people it takes to open particular restaurants. And, it was from 6 to, the chain restaurants for some reason need more, but I think they get more volume than the, more established fine dining restaurants. But, one place closed for 2 days a week, and because they, and they said if someone gets sick or someone has a family emergency, that sixth or seventh person in a small restaurant means you can't get the job done.
Yeah, I've had friends that have closed restaurants because someone's, not COVID related, but someone's been sick or they've been short staffed, and it's like they literally know that they can't function properly and they've had to close for a day for lack of staff, and it's sad.
But Dr. Drimmer, I'm just trying to think, not today, but how we continue to brainstorm to help employers find people who aren't willing and interested in getting back in the job market. And I think the biggest challenge I see is it's so expensive and time consuming to get someone trained and up to what a company does that no one wants to take the chance, but they don't have an alternative because they can't continue to service their client or develop or create the product or that their business is.
Yeah,
around.
I wish we could have a more robust apprenticeship program, but unfortunately, people don't want that because it's a time commitment, and the employers many times don't want to commit to it. So we've got that challenge. Internships, we run into somewhat the same issue because so many of our students who would benefit from an internship can't do it because they're already gainfully employed at McDonald's,
right,
or whatever. And it's sad. I tell students don't think that you're going to work in a fast food chain the rest of your life. That they may be making a pretty good wage now for their age group, but it's a dead end. And it's really, it's just, it really is an ongoing issue that we're all going to have to face.
Well, one of the things they told me, and I don't remember where, but I guess it was on our Regional Economic Development Council executive committee call last week. The $175 million for Empire State Development projects, it is in the budget. It's only for capital because they're borrowing those funds. And they did take a look at it, and the Joe Dragoni, who was a Walston Spa School superintendent now at Capital Region BOCES, he asked, how do we access the funding for the governor's workforce development and education initiatives? And he said both the director and her deputy are gone. They've left state service, and he felt that it would be a rolling application process like it has been. One of the things we were looking at was, I have them, I just haven't pulled them together. Go back and look at what was awarded over the last 3 or 4 rounds to see what they like, and what might have been done in Rochester or could be done in Hudson or vice versa.
Yeah.
But again, I think, jobs are one sandwich or one, economic development one sandwich at a time, I used to say when I walked around downtown Albany. But, it is, whether you're hiring 3,000 people at Global Foundries or one person for your small business in Columbia County, you still have to make that decision as to what they're going to do, where they're going to sit, how they hook up to the internet. And I think a lot of businesses are just distracted and cautious. But then there are those that are not going to make it if they don't get workers. So, well, it's good to keep it on the forefront of our brain, and sometimes just talking about it helps evolve solutions. But it's got to be broken down really to one employer and one job, and how do you get them filled? So, Lisa, anything from your perspective? Oswaldo, always thank you. Liz, thanks for joining in, and stay in touch. We'll see you tomorrow on tape, Dr. Drummond.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.